moving incorrectly. And I pray that God align me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love. And I pray that, I pray that y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path. Cause I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years. So all of that to say, man, I wanna now perform the song that's a reminder to me of getting back on the right path and getting in tune with God. And the name of the song is called Love Yours. I got for y'all right now.
I am on a very strict energy diet. Like, if it doesn't feel like love or joy or peace or kindness, I don't want it. I don't even want it.
Howdy, world, but I guess more specifically to my students. Though I'm not in the classroom anymore, I still have a desire to leave you with these life lessons. And I'm hoping that this one resonates, especially before we jump into Thanksgiving. This year was the big rap beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, which seems to still be going on. That is a video for another day. But I want to just rewind and go back to the very first part of it, after Kendrick had dropped Like That, and then J. Cole had dropped his, response to that diss track. A few days later, J. Cole actually pulls back away from the rap beef, and he makes this announcement on stage. I'm just referencing the video that I showed at the very start of this. Makes this announcement on stage, and everybody is just making fun of him, and they're like, oh, he's soft, he's weak, he shouldn't have done that, that was dumb to do, X, Y, and Z. Then as the beef actually worsens and it heats up, everybody understands why J. Cole ended up taking, a step back and not investing that kind of energy into it. Because now you can see why somebody would lose sleep when somebody's embarrassing you in front of the entire world. I didn't understand it then, but now I understand it much, much, much better. So when I was in Germany, I had a friend of mine, and he had practiced Buddhism, and he talked to me about this idea of people being wave makers. And I mean, in other words, he's basically talking about people will trigger you, but I love the analogy of waves, because one of the things that he stated to me was that as people are making these waves, you can choose whether or not if you're going to ride this wave or just sit back and observe it. And I have just been practicing how to just sit back and observe the waves without, riding these waves, but in being very, very, and having this wise discretion with what waves I choose to ride and engage in. If it's like, if we're celebrating something, if we are, and the way he describes waves is just emotional energy. And you're going to choose if you're going to put your energy into it, or whether or not if you just sit back and observe it. And my mentor has a great quote where he says that sometimes you can just leave the script. Somebody might expect you to do something, and you could just step away from the script and just observe what's going on. You don't have to react, you don't have to respond, you don't have to do anything. And that makes a lot of sense to me now. Now let me tell you why I took the hiatus. Every 4 years we engage in this collective trauma, and everyone, I finds it to be permissible to say, these extremely toxic, divisive statements about the other political party that they disagree with. And that's extremely frustrating for me. It's very difficult for me to engage with that. And also, just to be even more clear about it, I have friends literally from all sides of the political spectrum. I have friends who are Democrats, Republicans, moderate. I have friends who are anarchists. I have friends who are revolutionaries. Like, I have friends from all sides of it. So it doesn't make sense to me when I hear people saying certain things about about this other political party, because I also know that most people are kind of single issue voters. They don't agree with everything Kamala said. They don't agree with everything Trump said, but they have a particular issue that they're passionate about, and they think that this politician is going to help them with this issue, and that's why they vote for them. I personally choose not to vote. My belief is that my rights do not rest in human hands, so I choose not to vote. That's my own decision. And for that reason, I also choose to not participate in this, what I perceive to be this collective trauma that I find that everybody chooses to engage in. So for this year in particular, what I chose to do is just observe the waves. I didn't want to be involved. I stood on the shore and I just watched everything that was going on, and I had a wonderful time. It was extremely peaceful. Anna and I, we went to Salem. We ended up going to a Halloween party. We took real estate classes together. We ended up getting our real estate license. Before getting the real estate license, for me, like, I have OCD, so I have to feel overly prepared. So I took my exam over 100 times in order to feel prepared. Took the exam the first time, didn't pass it by 2 points, went back, took it again, and I passed it. So that's how I found it to be wise in order to invest. That's how I found it to be wise, is to invest my emotional, spiritual, and rational energy. That's what made sense to me. Um, and it also just felt nice to observe on election day, while everybody was freaking out and they were angry and frustrated about everything happening in the world and feeling sad. I observed it. I went out with the doggy and we had this beautiful, nice walk together. And I sat back and I observed. And I was like, that's why he's so peaceful, because he just doesn't care. And I think what I've noticed with just observing the dog is that he cares about what he cares about, and what he doesn't care about, he doesn't care about. Like, he cares about us, he cares about hiking, he cares about food, he cares about being friendly with other dogs. Other things he doesn't care about. So adopting that personality myself, adopting that trait myself has been extremely useful. I'm sure voting is important. I'm sure there might be something that comes out of it. It's not important to me, so I don't engage with it. And there are a lot of things that are important to me that I'm sure that are not important to other people. I'm passionate about teaching, real estate, connecting with people, having great conversations with people, seeing things from other perspectives. That's important to me. Voting is not important to me at all, so I don't engage with it, you know? But that's me. One of the message I wanted to kind of leave you with, especially as we step into Thanksgiving tomorrow, there's a man whose name is Daryl Davis. He has an amazing TED Talk that's titled Black Man. I'm a black man who goes to KKK rallies." And he's just this black guy who uh, who goes to KKK rallies, sits down with people in the KKK, understands their perspective. He doesn't try to impose their beliefs on them. Hence, another reason why I step away from voting in politics, because I do not like the idea of beliefs being imposed on people. And he has been able to have, I forgot the exact number, I think it's over 100 high-ranking members, and just members of the KKK in general, just give up the ropes, because he just sat down and had a conversation with them. So instead of screaming his beliefs and his causes and trying to force other people to believe in them, he simply just lives them out. I was deeply inspired by him. And I remember during the lockdowns in Germany, it was just as divisive. It was just as toxic and frustrating. And, I have my own personal view on how much I believe government should be invested and involved in people's lives. And I was planning these events that I called Symposium Berlin, which was just our way of everyone coming together. And I post these events online, and we would sit down and just circle up and just have a conversation. That's all we would do. And everyone was invited. The people who, hated me and said, nasty things about me, the people who were insinuating that I was some kind of Nazi, everyone was invited to these conversations. I wanted to have a conversation, show people that, this is the most humane way of dealing with things. So, that week that I was to have, I remember having them on Wednesday evenings, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday or Thursday evenings. that same week, the German government had said that we were going to go into strict lockdowns 2 days after. So that my event was, I think, on a Wednesday or Thursday, and I think that Saturday or Sunday was when we were going to a strict lockdown. Many people were canceling their events. I had a different perspective. No need to get into that now. And I was like, you know, I can legally still run the event. If you don't feel comfortable coming to the event, don't feel comfortable event. I completely understand. But during that time, they were really strong on 6 feet of having 6 feet of distance, and everybody should be wearing masks, and you shouldn't be in enclosed spaces. I had already rented out the space, and I already had the event in mind. I already had this vision in mind, and I had no interest in compromising that vision for anybody, government included. So we still held the event, and that event still is one of my favorite events because of everything that was involved. Because I just remembered that, like, how impactful it was to demonstrate my values and to really live them, as opposed to forcing those beliefs on other people. And it just changed a lot of people's perspective on what was going on. That event was titled Mask, Distance, and Intimacy. Yeah. And it had to do with, various perspectives on mask, various perspectives on distance, and also, if we are so divisive and toxic, how are we able to have these intimate, meaningful, humane conversations and actually really connect with each other? Hence, the lesson I'm trying to send over to my students as well is that I'm aware that you'll be sitting down with people in your family that you might have disagreements with. I would encourage you to sit down and listen and to hear them out with a compassionate curiosity, not with the idea of like, you have to see things the way I see things, but genuinely asking, like, how do you see the world? You'd be so amazed by how brilliant, wonderful, how courageous, strong, compassionate, amazing people are when you actually sit down and have a conversation with them. And it doesn't mean you're going to, there's a lot of people I meet and I disagree with them, but I'm still able to have a humane conversation. If I find I'm in a toxic space, we're not able to find any common ground, then I simply observe the wave and I leave the script and I don't engage. That's the most peaceful way I can do things these days. I was different back then, but that's a whole different story for another day. Long story super short, because this has already gone longer than I intended. The message I'm hoping to send is that there is great power in simply just in strength and peace. And peace, I find, is the greatest superpower in just observing the waves, and not engaging and leaving the script behind and not feeling like you need to engage in any way, shape, or form. And there's also great power in sitting down and having a humane conversation with somebody whose worldview is completely different than yours. That's my message for today. I will be posting more, simply because I'm out from my hiatus. I'm in a much more peaceful space at the moment, and now things have settled with the election, so there's no need for me to pull back anymore. And also, I just got my real estate license, so of course I'll be marketing as well. So that's the lesson for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful, well, it's evening for me, but you'll be seeing this on Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a peaceful Thanksgiving, and if necessary, simply just observe the waves and read the script. Goodbye.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!